Hello, everyone, and welcome to our call tonight. I'd like to introduce Charlene Gray, our current president of the Early Childhood Educators of BC. Char, I'm just unmuting you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sean.
So I'll turn it over to you to start this evening's call.
Wonderful. I know we're going to get started right away and people will be joining us as we go on. So, hi, everybody. My name's Charlene. As Sean said, I'm president of ECEBC. Tonight, I'm calling in from Comox, where it's a little bit drizzly and rainy, but no snow. I would just like to start our meeting to acknowledging that we are all very grateful to live, work, and play within the many Indigenous territories of our province. I think we should take time to recognize that. And I'd very much like to welcome you all to our call tonight, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Sean's going to give us a little bit of housekeeping items, and then we'll begin our call. Sean, I wonder if I should, I should do that little bit first, and then we'll do the housekeeping. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize, everybody. It's been a long day. So I just wanted to mention that ECBC organized this call so that we could address the many questions coming out of last week's budget, including, as I'm sure you all are aware, the workforce compensation issues. Tonight we have over 100 people on our call, which is record-breaking, I think, and we represent over 31 communities in BC, which is amazing. After Sean does the housekeeping items, you'll be able to see the agenda so that you can see the direction of tonight's call. So take it away, Sean.
Hello, everyone. So tonight, just a few housekeeping things while we go through the call. I'm going to be having everyone on mute on my end because that will help stop the amount of background noise that happens when people are unmuted. So I'll be doing that. And the session tonight is going to be recorded, and then it will be posted on our website as well as on our Facebook page. So just to let everyone know that if you do speak, that you are going to be, the information for tonight will be posted. So there will be some time for some questions and comments after the speakers. What we'll be doing is I'll be asking you to put your hand up or to type me the question, and then we'll filter them through as time permits. So everyone may not get a chance to speak, but there will be an option later. We'll be sending out some information that you'll be able to put some comments into. So Pro D certificates are also available for tonight's session. And if you are with a group and have more than yourself, if you're with a group of 3 or 4 people, you can contact either myself or Heather at the office, and we'll be able to get those names and make sure everyone gets a Pro D certificate for tonight. So let's move on, and I really hope you enjoy the call.
Thank you so much, Sean, for helping us out with all the technicalities. I know calls can often be a little uncomfortable and strange for some, but we'll make our way through with so many people again.
Excellent.
So tonight I'm really, really pleased that we have the honor of having the Minister of State for Childcare, Katrina Chen, on our call with us tonight. I've had the pleasure of meeting with Ms. Chen many, many times since the NDP took over last fall, and I have to say I've never met anyone so engaged and so genuinely interested in learning about our sector and understanding how it works. I feel very comfortable speaking with her. She's remained engaged. She asked the most amazing questions, which to me is always a sign of someone who's really willing to listen. I'm really excited that she's joining us for a while tonight. I'm hoping that we'll have some time with some questions, but also Minister Chen has agreed to do another event with us soon, and we'll let you know about that. So without further ado, Minister Chen, and I know some of your members of your staff are there as well, I just want to welcome you on behalf of ECEBC.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Just want to confirm. So good evening, everybody, and really thanks to Emily and Charlene for the opportunity for me to have this conversation with you all. I have here my ministerial assistant, Nikki Sharma, and also our Assistant Deputy Minister, Christine Massey, here joining this call with me. And we're happy to answer some questions later on. We do have a presentation to start with. And I'm very, very excited about the opportunity to connect with all of you. And I'm also very pleased to be able to share some of the details of our Universal Child Care Plan with ECE workers around the province. You are a critical part of our child care plan, and you will be important for us to work together in the years to come to accomplish our mutual goals. And I will move on to some of the details of our plan in a moment. But if you only hear one message from me tonight, it's that we cannot do this without you. We need to work together. And I really want to thank you all for all your hard work. So the first slide does give a brief introduction. If we can flip to the next slide. As you know, Budget 2018 allocated $1 billion over 3 years for childcare. This is the largest investment in childcare in BC history, and our vision is defined in the Childcare BC Plan, which talks about affordability, quality childcare that is available to every family that wants or needs it. And for those of you who have not had a chance to review the plan, it is posted on the BC Budget website, and the link is provided here. And we know that building a universal early learning and quality childcare system is a huge undertaking, and it will take time. And as you know, that we are starting from a very fragmented, uncoordinated system, and the childcare chaos has really failed a lot of families and workers in our province. So we're happy to say that we have put together a 3-year implementation plan, and Childcare BC is also a 10-year plan with a 10-year vision. And we will begin the implementation of the actions that will set us on the path to universal childcare. And our work is organized into 3 key pillars. That is affordability, accessibility, and quality. So we'll begin with affordability in the next slide. We have heard loud and clear that childcare is unaffordable. And we know that parents are struggling today with the cost of childcare. And that is why we're investing $630 million over the next 3 years to improve affordability. And there are 2 main affordability initiatives we're focusing on. The first one is a child care fee reduction, and the second one is a new affordable child care benefit. So let's look at the parent fee reduction, which will be available starting in April. So this initiative will mean that overall, fees at licensed childcare centers will drop significantly for infant and toddler, and also for children between the ages 3 to 5 years old. And you can see the reductions on the slide here, that up to $350 per month for group infant and toddler care, and a fee reduction of $200 a month for family infant and toddler care. And for children aged 3 to 5 for group care, it's a fee reduction of $100 a month, and for family care, it's $60 a month. And childcare providers have to join a program for their parents to receive the fee reduction from our ministry. And providers will be allocated the funding needed to reduce parent fees, and their contract will require that the funding is passed on to the parents. And licensed providers that join our plan will receive a 10% increase to their base childcare operating fund rate, CCOF rate. And in addition, providers will be asked to confirm their current fees and any planned fee increases for the coming year, provided that the fee increases are within historical norms. The provider will be approved for the program, and exceptional circumstances will definitely be considered on a case-by-case basis, because we do know that providers sometimes could face with significant rent increase or other wage increase and other issues. And then we want to talk a little bit about the child care benefit. That's the next slide. So Budget 2018 also announced a new affordable child care benefit to help bring more relief to parents. And the benefit will replace the current child care subsidy program, but we are making sure that every parent who are using child care subsidy program will be grandfathered to our new program and will be benefiting from the new program. So this new benefit, which will be available to families for September 2018, will significantly lower cost of childcare for more BC parents. full or partial benefits will be available to families with incomes up to $111,000 a year. And it is expected that family earning between $60,000 to $80,000 will be paying an average about $10 per day for childcare, and families with pre-tax income of $45,000 or less should probably wind up paying very little or nothing for infant and toddler care. And an online benefit calculator will help parents budget for what they will receive based on their income and the type of licensed care. It's going to be an way easier process than the child care subsidy program. And we're looking at when the benefits going to be phased in, it'll be helping up to 86,000 families by the end of 2020 and 21. And now we want to take a look at the accessibility with $237 million over the next 3 years, and that is a very important piece of our child care plan as well, because right now there are simply just not enough license space for everyone. Some parents try to put their kids on wait lists for childcare before their children were born and don't even get a space when they need one. And I'm pretty sure many of you know how the situation is like. And we also understand that families who have different needs, such as irregular working hours, even have less access. So Budget 2018 commits a significant amount of money to make sure that we create childcare spaces throughout BC communities to improve access. So we're committed to fund 22,000 new spaces, and that also through the funding that's available from the federal government, we will fund over 24,000 spaces over the next 3 years. And through our major capital program, we're going to make it easier for providers to apply for capital funding by introducing an ongoing intake process. And we will also make it easier for family childcare providers to receive support for their operations by making them eligible for the minor capital funding, which did not happen before. And we will also increase the availability of childcare that is co-located on school grounds so we can deliver more spaces in more neighborhoods and more communities. And that also includes bringing in a full-day early care and learning centers at up to 8 existing Strong Start BC centers. We will also provide grants to communities to create childcare plans. This will inform us the local needs and priorities for childcare spaces and help with local planning and making sure that we are investing our funds to communities where the needs are the highest. And I want to emphasize that we're interested in supporting all types of licensed childcare centers, or from group to family and multi-age care center. We want to make sure everyone and every type of providers are supported because the diversity of options really supports families to choose the best options for them. And we also want to talk a little bit about our federal funding. As some of you may have heard, last Friday we announced our agreement with the federal government, and this is the breakdown of the funded initiatives which support us to improve more access and more inclusive childcare. So we recognize that childcare needs to meet the needs of kids and their families, and this needs differ depending on the circumstances of the child and in many cases the situation in their home community. So by providing additional funding to reduce waitlist for supported child development and Aboriginal supported development programs, we are making child care spaces more inclusive. And we also want to make sure that we are lifting up vulnerable families by increasing support for young parents as they complete their secondary school education, including providing access to no-fee child care. And while Indigenous children and families are expected to have full access to the enhancements made to the provincial childcare system, there is also a recognition that we have an obligation to ensure that Indigenous children, their families, and their communities have access to childcare that meets their specific needs. So expansion of the Head Start program is just the beginning. And we do plan to work in full partnership with Indigenous communities and leaders throughout BC communities to decide how we can deliver universal childcare in a way that meets the needs of Indigenous families and our commitment to UNDRIP. So now we would like to look at quality, because we know that one of the most important pillars of universal childcare and early learning is definitely to make sure that we have high quality childcare and early learning services. And really, the backbone of our quality childcare is about having quality staff, which is the reason why I'm here, hoping to connect with you all tonight and answer some of the questions you may have. And I really don't need to tell you about some of the challenges that we currently face with shortages of ECE workers, high turnover, and low pay and low wages. So Budget 2018 provides a $136 million over the 3 years to enhance quality of care, including important new supports for training, development, as well as a workforce development strategy. So if you look at the first slide, the creation of a workforce development strategy is our priority for this coming year, and it will have several components. That include the first component is professional development, the second one is education and training, the third one is fair compensation, and then the fourth one is data and research, and that's our key focus in the coming months and year. And there are many actions planned under each component, and today I will highlight some of the key ones. In terms of professional development, I'm pleased to say that we're working very closely with ECEBC, thanks to you all, to expand the current bursaries and grants programs. And with the $10 million early learning and childcare funding from the federal government in this fiscal year, we will expand access to grants and bursaries to support certification for new ECE workers and professional development opportunities for people who are already in the sector, while the existing ECE bursary program will also be improved to better address the cost associated with training for this career. And we will also invest in the University of Victoria's Community Facilitators Program to provide support and mentorship for existing early childhood educators. And as part of the improvement to quality, we will update the early learning framework that guides program for children up to the age of 8 years in both early care and learning facilities and in schools, which will help children to better prepare for the transition to kindergarten and also ensure that they are well supported once they get there. And the next slide will talk about our workforce development strategy, which will also include actions to strengthen ECE education and training options. And in particular, we want to increase the number of ECE graduates from public post-secondary institutions by 620 over the next 3 years. We are working closely with the Ministry of Advanced Education on this goal, and they are committed to increasing the number of spaces available to train ECEs. So some of you may be familiar with the work on ECE standards of practice and competencies, and the goal of this work is to decide the minimum standards and entry-level competencies for ECEs, and this work will also continue and become one of the key actions in the workforce development strategy. And we will look at other education and training opportunities, including reviewing training available for responsible adults to make sure that we enhance quality of services. And the next slide will talk about our workforce development strategy, because we know that compensation is one of the key pillars of the workforce development strategy. And our government has heard loud and clear that low wages and the lack of benefits across the sector result in one of the most pressing challenges in developing universal childcare. And ECE have the in-demand skills that they are moving to more lucrative careers in other sectors. So together with the Public Sector Employers Council, we will be working on a labor market research project to collect data and better understand the range of wages in this sector and our future needs to successfully implement a universal childcare system. And we want to make sure that this work is our priority. And the creation of the workforce development strategy will also require data, research, and consultation. And I'm very pleased and very thankful that we will be partnering with ECEBC through the Labor Market Partnership Project on this very important journey. and we definitely need your input and your expertise. And I really hope that we can work together and that you will work with us to continue to make sure that we make a strong case supported by the best available data on how we can improve working conditions, including fair compensation for ECEs. And last slide talks about, I've tried my best to quickly gone through the plan. There's a lot of more details actually that's attached to this plan, but I want to make sure we have enough time left for questions. So I'll stop here, and we'll also flag you that more information will be available in a set of frequently asked questions. And I really want to, again, thank you all for your hard work, and I look forward to working with you in the months and years to come to make sure that we create this quality system together and making sure that your work is supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Chan. I know you worked really hard to get through all those slides. That's a lot of information, but as you said, the links are available. We have about 10 minutes, and I'm going to count on Sean to filter us with a few questions for you, Minister Chan, if that's all right. I will ask that you just keep your questions to one question, and then we'll move on to the next person, knowing respectfully that we can't get to everyone, but we'll do our very best. So, Sean, did you want to take this piece, please?
Okay, so you can submit your questions either by putting your hand up, and I will I'll unmute you if we have time to field that question, and you can also type your questions into the question box. But I think what I'll do is I'll get started. I have a bunch of questions that have been coming in throughout the call. So our first question, is, what do you mean historical coming?
Sorry, what do you mean historical?
What do you mean historical comings?
Historical comings, sorry. You mean like the historical change to our plan, or?
I believe that's what they're asking.
Okay.
If that helps.
Perhaps maybe why this is a historical commitment?
Okay. So our plan is a historical commitment. I believe there's no previous government in BC that has committed to a $1 billion investment in childcare. And what we've put together, and I really want to take this opportunity to thank a lot of advocates, including a lot of you from ECEBC and the Coalition of Childcare Advocates who have worked with us, and experts and parents who have worked us hand in hand to create this very comprehensive plan. The slides that we just went through provides you with some basic information about our plan, but there's a lot more details to this. It is a comprehensive plan that will lead us to a universal childcare system in BC, and BC could be one of the first few provinces that has a universal childcare system, and thanks to your great work on that.
Okay, I have another question. Why are the multi-age rates for licensed centers the same as family child care?
So you're talking about the fee reduction initiatives that we have, perhaps?
Yes. Yep.
So the current system does provide a higher CCOF rate to group providers, centers. So that is the system that we know that it is not perfect, but that is the system that we are building on. And we want to make sure family providers, of course, gets the support. So in our fee reduction initiatives, we definitely include family providers for our plan, and they will also get the 10% CCOF increase. And at the same time, we do want to make sure that we provide the supports that family providers need to continue to operate their service, and that is why we added the minor capital grant, because currently family providers are unable to access minor capitals, and we want to make sure that they are included. I don't know if maybe Christine will want to add anything about the historical reason why family providers are getting a bit lower than the group providers.
Yeah, no, we've heard some of the concerns from other multi-age providers. So as Minister Chen said, this is our first cut at our 3-year plan, and if there are suggestions for improvements, and what I think we're hearing is we need to look at the rates for multi-age, we're happy to take that away and do that.
And I want to say that this is a start. So we're putting together a 3-year implementation plan. This is the start, but by no means an end. We have a lot more work to do, and we have to work together in order to make this work. So I'm hoping that we can work together every step of the way, and any suggestions you have to our plan, please do feel free to let us know, and we can definitely make the system better and better.
Okay, so the next question is, what are you going to do for the current crisis in staffing?
So the current crisis in staff shortage?
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of work we have to do, and we know that sometimes change cannot come fast enough, and that is why we have a comprehensive set of strategies, including working with advanced education to make sure that there are more new ECEs that are going to be trained, but also looking at supporting the current workforce. And that is exactly why we want to work on the workforce development strategies and also working with ECEBC on recruitment and retention strategies that could include support for training, education, and fair compensation. We want to make sure that we make the sector an attractive career in the coming years. And we know that's not easy. Currently, ECEs are being paid a lot of them are being paid low wages and not getting the support that they need. And we need to make sure that we look at what are the things we can do to change that. So, and that is why we need to work hand in hand together in the coming months and years to make things better and retain current ECs and recruit more EC to join the sector.
Okay. There's so many questions here. Where do preschool programs fall within the plan?
So preschool programs will benefit the parents who have children attending preschool program will benefit from the childcare benefit, the new childcare benefit that's going to be rolled out in September. They'll get fee reduction depending on their income. And again, the benefit will benefit families income up to $111,000. So you are part of our plan, and of course, if you're a licensed childcare center who are joining our CCOF, who receive operating funds, then and you're joining our new plan, then you'll also receive the 10% CCOF increase.
Okay, is there a plan or an infrastructure dollars to address the lack of space in schools and on school properties to include early learning programs? Many schools are already over capacity.
So we are working closely with the Ministry of Education. They are an important partner in our plan to look at opportunities to make sure we build more spaces on school grounds. And when we start to accept more capital funding applications, we'll also look at them to see how we can make sure that there's more opportunities near a school and on school grounds as well. So we do work closely, and we will also be working on the early learning framework to enhance the quality of childcare.
So just wanted to go back to the last question that was asked about preschool. I think Christine's going to provide some clarity on what the plan currently includes, if you could.
Yeah, the parent fee reduction, so the CCOF, that's available for group infant toddler care and 3 to 5 care and family in the same categories.
Sorry, I was talking about parents in licensed childcare who join our CCOF reduction will get the fee. But for preschool, the parents will benefit from the childcare benefit program. Sorry, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we've run out of time for questions. Katrina has another engagement to attend. There are so many questions we didn't get to tonight, and we will find a way to address the answers. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. I know that as this is recorded and your questions have been sent in, Minister Chen has asked that those be passed on to her. So you can be assured that we will do that. And then we'll disseminate information to people on the call as we get it. So thank you for understanding that part. I just want to thank Minister Chen and your staff. They have just been amazing through all this process. I know there's lots of questions everybody still has, and I'm well aware of that. I have some myself, but your openness and willingness to listen and to be a part of these kinds of calls is very refreshing, and we're very grateful. So thank you so very much.
And thank you so much. I'm sorry for my schedule today, but I look forward to joining the next call and having more conversation to come in the very near future. Thank you so much.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, that was great that Minister Chen was able to be with us tonight. She just learned about this call not many days ago. So for her to clear her schedule and do that was really good. And that just does show her commitment and her staff's commitment to being able to keep engaged with us as educators, because we do have lots of questions and they were not all answered tonight. We have to be aware of that for sure. I was able to talk with Minister Chen's staff just the other day, just to have some questions answered myself. Most of them she mentioned. One of the things that for families that we need to know is that as things roll out and as we learn how the new system was going to work, how we as educators and administrators apply for this new funding, everyone that's currently on subsidy will continue on that till they roll that out. So nobody's going to be getting any less. And we will be getting lots and lots of information in our Child Care Operating Fund renewal agreements. So those of us who are on CCOF right now, we know we have an agreement coming March 1st that we have to hand in to start the new year. If you haven't been on CCOF, then Child Care Operating Fund, sorry, I should make sure people know what that means, then you will be getting an agreement in the mail, and you will have to fill out some information, and that will give us a lot more detail about how we access the funds, what kind of reporting and accountability measures are going to be required of us, because I know that's a question I have, and I'm sure lots of people do as well. We know that I did ask about the wages. I know that's a big question we have on tonight. I asked that many times, and I've spoken to Minister Chen many times since the budget was announced about that. They are aware, and I was uncomfortable at first, but I feel much more comfortable knowing that we know this will be addressed. Can it come fast enough? Absolutely not. But this is not an issue that's going to be ignored, and I was reassured that again, and I hope you heard that from Minister Chen tonight. Just so that you know, and I did mention this before, we are going to be sending out some links for you to access a bit more information. I found some myself just by going on the Child Care Subsidy website or the CCOF website. There is more information there, and Minister Chen gave you some links as well. So every day it's going to be up to us, I think. Just keep looking for information, and it will be coming. So I know there's lots more questions, and we'll have a chance to get to them now. I just wanted to pass the mic, if you will, over to Emily. She's got a little bit of background information for us, and then we are going to be able to leave some time for questions before the call is over. So thanks, everybody. Emily?
Thanks, Shar, for that. So I thought it'd be important to just do a little bit of an overview of where the 10-a-day childcare plan came from and sort of our movement forward. For many people, this has been a historic moment for us in the ECE sector. And for a lot of people, they're just hearing about it. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was coming with the same information. So the Early Childhood Educators of BC has been in existence since 1969. Next year, we're celebrating our 50-year anniversary. And from the very beginning of time, the founders of the organization were really looking at the advancement of the sector through education, through community understanding, through research, and all of the things that we even do today. And what happened for us in 2011 is that we had a new government that was looking, or the government at the time was looking at two different things. So we were really responding to two conflicting realities. So there was more and more money in the early years in the education, with the promise of full school day kindergarten and then the move to pre-kindergarten. And at the same time, nothing was really done to address the childcare crisis that was happening within the province. So 2 grassroots organizations, the Early Childhood Educators of BC and the Coalition of Childcare Advocates of BC, thought maybe this is a good time, instead of responding in a negative tone to another cutback or something that wasn't being done, that perhaps we could influence policy in a positive way. So the introduction of the community plan for an integrated public system of early care and learning in BC was developed. And soon we learned that to be able to talk to people out in the community, we would have to think of a better way to talk about it. So hence the 10-a-day tagline or slogan was developed. This was a risk for us, but it did get us into the public dialogue. And the risk for us was that there is actually 7 key elements and many underlying pieces of the 10-a-day plan that was developed by these 2 organizations that really elevates the sector and the work as a workforce to move forward. And even though within that first year, when we started in 2010 with the draft document, the 7 key elements actually never wavered. They were based on research and evidence, and we knew that we needed to get from point A to point B. So through this last 7 years, we were able to gain momentum, and we saw a shift. And the shift for us really was that although we were 2 small groups with that research and experience behind us, this plan then became part of the communities. And not everybody has agreed with every part of it or even most of it, but what it did was give something concrete for people to talk about. So when we went out and talked with new stakeholders and different people, they said, now I get what you mean. So we always talked about having an affordable, high quality early care and learning system in BC right from the beginning, but we didn't have something this concrete. So I'll get you to move to the next slide, Sean. And so we started working on a number of pieces to support this. So we've done work around fair compensation and benefits for our sector. We found people, common allies, that started talking about this in their own communities. We found support from a variety of stakeholders, from business people, from families, from the poverty reduction strategy, grandparents, millennials, and that just keeps going on and on and on. As we built our allies moving forward, we didn't have very much money to do this work. So when we first started out, we were borrowing people's air miles to fly to different places, and we kind of thought we would reach out to a few different community consultation groups, but that just blew up for us, and we were able to, people wanted to hear more and more. So I think we stopped, I think it was about 800 actual presentations when we finally stopped keeping track of how many we had done over this time. But we also built other allies that were actually non-traditional stakeholders. So we had some of our funders that came up. We had the business leaders, boards of trade, different economic people that really weren't in touch with the earliers, saw the benefit of having a system put into place. We did research, we did position papers on a variety of different topics to talk to and engage key stakeholders. We use social media for some of us that never use Twitter or Facebook or any of those things. It was really new for us, and how we were able to engage a community as a whole. So we looked for people to endorse the plan, and by the time the current government came on board saying, yes, we support this plan and we want to use it as a political platform in the upcoming election, we had over 2 million people throughout BC that supported the plan. And through this time, it hasn't always been a happy time for us. We saw tragedies like the story of baby Mac that died in an illegal childcare program. But we also saw other people come up, and we were able to find funding to support our strategies around the research, around the economics around childcare. Shar?
Sorry, I broke the golden rule. I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you. So I just want to speak a little bit as an early child educator. I work with children and families every day. I have for 30 years, and I know many of you have wonderful stories and commitment to this field as much as anyone. And I want to speak to that part of us right now. And I have to say, being witness to what's happening right now is very surreal for me. I started out with the childcare, with ECEBC and the $10 a day childcare plan as, hey, this is a pretty cool idea. And I would sit around a table with 8 or 9 other women and talk. And that was about 10 years ago. And I come from a small community. And last week, I found myself sitting in the legislature, not allowed to say anything because that's the rule, listening to Minister Carol James stand up and thank the early child educators of BC for bringing forth this plan, and with all the research and all the work that has been done by every single one of you, whether you're a member of ECEBC or not. You are an advocate. You are showing the goodness that we have in our field by the way you interact with children and families every day. So for me, this is a victory for all of us that work in childcare. We were the top issue in the budget along with housing. We were used to be not even a tagline on the budget. And now we were one of the top 2 issues. This is historic. And I literally got goosebumps thinking, is this really happening? And so I think we need to take a moment to just recognize that. And some of you may have not been in the field as long as I have, to know that this is absolutely unreal. I used to tell a story about, we would say, oh, it's okay. We don't need the money. Yeah, you can take it away. We'll make our own glue and it's okay. And then the door opened a little bit, a number of years ago. We put our foot in it and said, hey, here we are over here. Listen to us. We're early child educators. And then when the $10 a day plan was introduced, we stood in the middle of the room and we said, we're right here and we're not going anywhere. We had loud voices. Well, now we're at the podium. We're at the front of that room and we are informing change in our province. And I think it's so important for us to take a moment and recognize that. I get quite emotional when I talk about it because it has such a difference, and I cannot wait to see this plan roll out. $1 billion over 3 years, it's absolutely incredible. We've not seen this kind of commitment ever in childcare. This will definitely lift families up. I know that for sure. And it's only the beginning. The ECE sector needs to be out in the forefront of developing this universal plan. You heard Minister Chen say, we need you, we need you. And I know people say that a lot, but they really do. They need your voices. They need our voices. We've been invited, Early Child Educators of BC has been invited to be a partner in this workforce strategy that's coming along. So we are going to make sure that we are working for educators everywhere in the province and for families, as we always do, moving forward. So I just wanted to give a little bit of that piece to know, and for us to take a moment amongst all our myriad questions that I know we have, and we'll have time to talk about, to celebrate a victory for us today. So Emily?
I did it too, Shar. I forgot to unmute myself. So as Shar has indicated the impact of what has happened over the last week, a week ago today, we also want to mention, as Minister Chen also mentioned, was the multilateral agreement that was signed at a federal level, and how this time in our history is just right because it's coming from all sorts of different directions. And it's especially important for ECEBC as we move forward, is that we didn't, ECEBC is able to be there to be a representative, but our voice is only as good as everybody that surrounds us, and we wouldn't have gotten to where we were if it wasn't for the community that has gone forward to saying, hey, we need this, and talking to their individual regions and communities and family members, and that's really important. And although, government, this is a really exciting time to be working with government. We need all levels of government to make a commitment and to continue the development as we move forward. And we're excited to be able to work with Minister Chen, but our job is to be speaking on behalf of the sector moving forward. We're not here to speak on behalf of government, so just to be clear. So as Minister Chen indicated, ECEBC is starting to develop some work on a sector partnership pieces of work, and we're just working out some of those details. But our first goal is to engage the sector to come together as one workforce. We have never ever in our history been able to do that. We often work in our own silos through the different types of childcare delivery models. And even though we might all see that happening in a different way, we are one sector, and we want to come with a common understanding to engage the sector forward. So we will be reaching out to key stakeholders and then out to the broader community to get more input. ECEBC is also working on some additional policy, where right now in many documentation, early childhood educators are seen as a paraprofessional rather than a professional. So we have Sean, who's doing a lot of work on this, developing policy strategies to move forward with that with government. And as Shar mentioned, and Minister Chen, that ECEBC will also be part of the workforce development strategy. So bringing any of these questions and concerns, this is really timely to be able to engage the sector to bring those forward. And as well as we will continue the student bursary program, and as Minister Chen made reference to, we're looking at different ways to break down those barriers for students to be able to access, and to ensure that that money actually does enough to encourage people to come into the sector and not to accumulate a whole bunch of student debt. And another opportunity besides the one that we are going to be able to host another webinar like this tonight, that we had tonight, coming up. Minister Chen has agreed to do another one because we did reach our capacity so early on, that ECEBC is having its 47th annual conference, May 3rd to 5th, and Minister Chen and the Minister Conroy, the Minister for the Ministry of Children and Family Development, is coming to conference to give us some more information and answer more questions at that event. And some of the other work, and maybe some of you have seen this, ECEBC in the past has done some workforce strategy. And one of the pieces that we have, and it's an element in the plan, is that early childhood educators will make an average of $25 an hour plus benefits. But we do have a campaign that's still going out, and we're asking people, we'll be sending out the link in the after this call. We're going to have a number of different pieces of information that have been addressed today, but also around the $25 an hour campaign as we continue to roll this out, because the community plan, or the 10-a-day childcare plan, is still our end goal. And this is really just the beginning of a commitment. And we always knew from our end that it would take at least 10 years. It will take 8 to 10 years to get to a fully operational plan because of the state of crisis that childcare is in right now. So this is one way that you can become engaged in another way to become engaged is to access the information around the $25 an hour campaign and get your voices heard again. And I think, yeah, I think I will pass this on to Shar. Yeah.
Thank you. So just before we get into questions, and we will have time for questions, it looks like we're doing really well for time. I wanted to just mention something about Early Childhood Educators of BC. So we have these monthly calls for our membership. We usually have an hour call. We might invite a licensing officer or another expert on our call and give us an hour of Pro-D. And it's just another way to engage with our members. And they've been very, very successful. Tonight, we felt that it was really important to open the call to everyone, not just members of the Early Childhood Educators of BC. And I think that was a very good thing to do, and I'm really happy that we did it. But I do want to talk a little bit about membership. Every time I speak about it, people say, well, why should I become a member? Well, I think I answered that question a few minutes ago. We have an office staff of 4 people. We have a board of directors that are a volunteer board of directors around the province. And imagine that small group being able to make, on behalf of and with our very small membership numbers, such a difference in our province, and such a difference for every single early childhood educator, whether you're a member or not. Imagine what we could do if we had universal membership. I can't imagine. I also can't imagine sitting by and having this historic moment roll out and being asked to be invited to participate and to give my opinion and not be a member of my professional organization. And I know people will say about the money, I understand that. It's $9 a month, and I really do. I don't scoff at that. $9 is $9. But imagine what we could do if we all stuck together to bring this plan to fruition. There's no better time than now. And I certainly invite all of you, whether you're a student, you can become an associate member if you're not an early childhood educator. There's opportunities, and we welcome you. And there's so many perks. You'll get so much more information. We don't always open up and spread all the information to people who are not members. So that's my little propaganda, and I'm really proud to be a member of ECEBC, and I certainly hope you will consider. So we're going to move into the questions. We are going to be sending out a survey and a poll to you and to others that'll include these questions. But moving forward tonight, I just want you to have a look at these questions here, and maybe they'll inform some of your questions tonight or not. So thinking about what you might want to know about, what are your overall impressions of the budget? How do you see this budget benefiting families in your care? What's your most pressing question or concerns that have not been answered yet tonight? And what do we need to do in the coming months as a collective voice to ensure a strong forward direction of a universal childcare system? Big questions for sure. So Sean, I think what I'll do is I'll turn it over to you to handle the logistics of the questions. Perhaps Emily and I can sort of tag team and give information, but like Emily said, we speak for ECEBC, we don't speak for the government. So we may say to you, you know what, I bet you that will be found in a document, but we'll do our very best to hear concerns and comments. So Sean?
Okay, there's quite a few questions. Let's start with, let's see. I still don't know who is paying for these funds. Why can't anyone clarify this? This is my main question. So someone is concerned with where is the money coming from?
Okay, so I can quickly take that one because that's an easy one. So the fee reduction, so say for instance you reduce your toddler fees or whatever by $350, you will get that $350 back from the government. So you're reducing your fees, but you will get that top up back from the government so that you can continue to operate your program. Much like we get CCOF each month, we'll be getting money from the government in order for us to lower our fees. I hope that answers. Emily, anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, I will add to that too, because this question does come up a lot. So what's interesting and what's different about what government is doing now is they're actually developing a new public system, just like libraries or the medical system or the school system, where people come to expect that these things will be provided through their tax-paying dollars. That's what government's doing, is building a new public system for the general public to be able to access, because it's for the good of the community. So that's something that's a little bit, not a little bit, it's a big, huge fundamental change in how things are being done. So the question, yes, the money will be coming from government funds that they collect from taxes, will come to pay for this. And what's really, really important and really different right now is all the time that we presented this idea around the 10-a-day childcare plan, many decision makers said, it's a great plan, but we can't afford to do it. And what this government has done is they have produced a balanced budget. So yes, we can afford to do it. So now money would be coming from government to supplement how childcare is being provided. So it's coming from government funds.
Okay. Where do we apply for this program? April 1st is coming fast and we have to make preparations.
Definitely. And as a person who does this every day for a living, you will get an agreement, a Child Care Operating Fund agreement, that if you're already on the program, you know what that is. That is how you opt in. Minister Chen didn't mention this, but you do have an option to not opt in. However, you wouldn't be able to access the funding. If you're not currently on CCOF, my understanding is that you will also be getting an agreement. Usually the agreements come out the first week of March, and you have maybe 3 weeks, and a lot of it's online, for you to fill out the survey and learn more about it. So we haven't got it yet. No one's gotten it yet, but it will be coming very soon.
When will startup grants for LNRs be available to help with the licensing process? Any idea?
I don't know that. That's a very good question. We should ask that.
Okay.
Emily, have you heard any dates?
No, I haven't. So I do have, that's one for sure we could follow up with right away.
Absolutely.
Okay. The funding for parents, is it going to be paid out through the subsidy office? This money usually isn't received to us until almost mid-month. Now we will have a larger amount to wait for, and if there are stumbling blocks to the introduction or an error of paperwork, we'll be possibly waiting for quite a chunk of money. Our bills are still due and our staff need to be paid. This is a concern.
Do you want me to try that one, Emily, and you can chime in as well?
Yeah, sure.
Because I did ask Minister Chen this, so I did mention this to her earlier today. I anticipate, for instance, one of my programs, maybe 60% of our funding would be coming. So I understand what you're saying. It's hard to wait for that funding. I did hear Minister Chen tonight say that things will be streamlined and things will be online. It won't be subsidy anymore. It's called the parent-child benefit, child care benefit, and it will be, parents will be able to apply online. So the paperwork part that I know exactly what you're talking about, we won't be doing that piece anymore. I'm going to hope and guess, and again, more information when you get your contracts, that things are going to be streamlined. They already have the CCOF system in place, and that is a fairly efficient system. That would be my guess. But more information to come for sure, something to watch for, because I understand the question.
Here's a good one. Will they fund more licensing officers than process new apps, monitors, and investigate complaints? Essential components of quality.
So from ECEBC standpoint, we haven't heard directly what that's going to look like, but we have definitely encouraged government to put some more resources within the licensing system already. So we haven't been told directly how much or if anything yet, but at the same time, if they're going to build new spaces at this capacity, I can't see how they could move forward without it.
In the bigger, there's several documents Emily and I have been working with that you can access online. In the bigger document, and I apologize, I can't quite recall, there was a mention of licensing officers as a recognition, because yes, that is an issue. You know, if we want to open more spaces, how are the LOs going to be able to manage that? So there is something about it, Emily. I can't put my finger on it, but maybe we can find those details out.
Okay. How are you supporting current ECEs?
So Shar, do you want me to start there?
Sure, go ahead, Emily. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a number of ways that ECEBC is doing that through a variety of different programs and services that ECEBC already offers. We do like as Minister Chen has mentioned, that we have come to the table and brought all the concerns from the sector abroad. We've done a number of consultations throughout different communities. We do other primary activities around professional development, working for early childhood educators at key stakeholder tables throughout the province and both provincially and nationally to ensure that our voices are being heard. And then as an individual early childhood educator, we listen to our members. So we've done sector surveys to hear what the needs are. We've tried really hard to move forward. There has been some perceptions for sure throughout the years, even with my role here at ECEBC, that some people within the sector or even past members haven't always felt valued. So we've tried very, very diligently and hard to listen really closely to what the members are wanting from us, to provide, and to how do we keep people being informed. So we are learning new ways of being and doing things. We've changed our membership categories to include family childcare providers that aren't certified early childhood educators, so they can come and be part of our organization as an associate member, so they're still receiving the information as we go forward. We've done a number of activities and promotions, like looking at perks of membership. So where members are able to access benefits for their staff. The list kind of goes on and on and on. So, you know, I think it's really important for the general sector itself to actually know that the board of directors are all early childhood educators that work in a variety of capacities throughout the province as early childhood educators, and that's really significant on the direction that ECEBC is going on, and moving forward as we look at ways to engage and support the profession as we move forward.
Are there any plans to implement fee reductions for school age care?
I can answer that question because I asked it. I had the same question. Yes, there is. If you look, when you read the documents, you'll see that this is a plan that's going to roll out. I don't have the details in front of me because I have lots of paper all over my table here. But yes, there's a rollout, of course, infant toddler first. Minister Chen mentioned that 3 to 5-year-olds and school age care will be able to access a fee reduction. I haven't seen the numbers for school age care, what the fee reductions will be, but yes, that is part of the plan moving forward for sure, because it's it's part of childcare. So yeah.
How can we open more spaces when there is no staff?
Absolutely.
That's a really good question. That's what we've been really pushing government, that there is a current crisis that needs to be addressed, and at the same time we know we need to, families are in dire need of having additional spaces, but that's what we've been really pushing government, is to address the current crisis. And so looking at strategies to bring back early childhood educators that have left the sector as being one of those key foundational pieces to a sustainability plan to increase the number of early childhood educators available.
For sure. And I know Minister Chen mentioned, I think the figure she was on there was the $10 million working to educate people as early child educators. So there will be a significant increase in the availability of bursary. And Emily mentioned a few minutes ago, not just to pay for courses, but for other kinds of barriers to accessing education. So we need more educators. We want them to be drawn to the field by higher wages. That's something that we talked about earlier tonight. So that is something that is a critical piece. We can't have new spaces if we don't have enough early child educators to work there. Absolutely.
Okay. Will in-home multi-age programs be expected to receive the CCOF top-up rate reduction portion equal to family providers, or will they be valued as ECEs with expenses and professional development and needs and be eligible for the same funding as group centers?
I did ask that question, and Emily, you can add as well, because I know we've talked about this. Many family childcare providers are early child educators as well. So for me, my understanding, and I would hope that Minister Chen, if we ask her, could provide a bit more information on it. I don't think there's an intention of devaluing anyone. I think it's as far as where your program is located. Family childcare providers I know several who are early child educators as well. So I don't think it has to do with credentials. Emily, did you have anything you wanted to add about that? And Minister Chen did say that they would look at that.
Yeah, so we have brought forth that question because that concern has come up a number of times already from our correspondence with the sector abroad. And I think if I heard Sean right, this is talking about multi-age care, so that programs that are multi-age running out of someone's home, I believe. So this is a concern because currently those programs are listed under the same criteria as family childcare. So my understanding is that government has put multi-age care under the same criteria as family-age childcare, and there has been concerns, and they've been raised at a government level, and I just encourage people to continue to do that if that's a major concern, and we are continuing to bring that as well to government as well. And as one of Minister Chen's assistants said, that was brought to them, and they are looking at that already. So I think that's good news.
Okay, this is a long one. When considering quality of early care and learning programs, have you considered the wages for staff to be a very important and huge issue? What considerations have been given to look at the program beyond the present health and safety and looking at staff, child interactions and the programs offered?
I'm going to guess that they're talking about raising the professionalism and the standard of care. I know that one of Minister Chan's talking points was quality. She did mention the program out of the University of Victoria. Oh, sorry, Emily, I'm drawing a blank at what it's called.
It's the investigating quality program.
Yeah, and so I think quality is a big issue, and I know that the early learning framework training is another piece to raise the level of quality within centers. The bursary program, they're talking about not just people who need their ECE, but professional development for those who are already in the sector is part of that funding. So I believe that from what I've heard and what I've read, that elevating the quality of care beyond basic licensing requirements and health and safety is a big focus of our government, and Minister Chan alluded to that tonight.
And to build on that, Shar, I think the question was was indicating, what does ECEBC think about that? And honestly, we believe that this is how the sector is going to be supported is one of our biggest and key things. The biggest indicator to quality is wages and compensation. We know that it's being researched and documented. If you have a strong workforce that's well respected and remunerated, you have stronger quality programs. And so when you look at the 10-a-day plan that we have produced over the years, it goes much deeper than the health and safety. We look at the early learning framework as looking at a much more broader document that looks at a holistic approach to the early years and how we deliver programs. And that's what we really believe, that educators need to be accountable as well to the kind of programs that they are delivering and the quality of those programs, because we understand the research behind this, that having that the kind of programs and having those really strong programs with really rich experiences for young children is good for children. And it's also, this will be good for educators around to feel more engaged and more in tune to why we are here in the first place. So if we could, alleviate a lot of this burnout and constant stress around the work that we do, we could really really elevate the capacity of what we're doing.
That's a good point, Emily.
Okay. What if our children are in our licensed daycares?
I had that question come up in a meeting I was at last night. That's a really good question. I don't have a global understanding of family childcare. That's not where I'm at right now. But that would be a very, very good question for us to ask and to record, because I understand, you wouldn't pay for your own child to be in your space, but how does that work funding wise? That's a very good question that I think we should record and ask for sure.
Okay. How is ECEBC supporting small business owners to continue to provide care? Am I and other owners going to be squeezed out in support of a public system?
Do you want me to start, Shar?
Well, yeah, sure, Emily. Just as far, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a really, really good question, and one that we often, we've heard this a number of times. So our intention, ECEBC and the Coalition of Childcare, is that well, I guess maybe I'll start backwards a little bit, that there is no negativity from our perspective of all the amazing people out there that have gone out to fulfill a need, to support their own families and having a business right from the get-go. So I just want to be really, really clear around addressing that right off the bat. So as we're moving forward, ECEBC will support and advocate for small business owners, people that have made this their livelihood. But what we are calling for is a universal childcare system that does come into the public domain. So our view is, this isn't government speaking, but our view is that private operators will have the opportunity to engage and come be part of this system and have a relationship with government to deliver these services. But new programs and services that would be developed would come well, we were hoping through the Ministry of Education that would hold this portfolio. So we are looking for new people to come in. I'm just trying to think about. So yes, our vision is that for a public system of integrated early care and learning welcomes existing small independent owners, operators, and even commercial operators on the same terms and conditions as it welcomes in existing nonprofit programs and family child care providers, so that everybody would be included. We feel that existing privately owned preschools and daycare programs that want to become early year centers, and that's how we were framing it at the time. I don't know how government's going to move forward, that they become part of a network of early childhood educators. They would then receive new public funds to meet the accountability measures that we had put out. So, that's lower parent fees, improved staff wages and education levels, and the inclusion of children, and meet an identified community need. So, so they're in the plan that we gave to government. The plan's costing model allocates for all public funding and parent fees to increase affordability, access to quality services. So the small independent owners or commercial childcare programs are able to come and be part of this system and continue to work in the system, to be compensated fairly, to receive operating funds to do your work, and as we move forward, then everybody would eventually, all programs would be based on a new public system model. I hope that was helpful. I don't know, Shar, if you have any other pieces around that.
Sorry, I muted myself. My dog is being very naughty right now. Yes, that is within the plan, and that's what ECEBC did call for. The government has announced their new childcare spaces would be to nonprofits. That's something that government has put forward. But going right from the get-go, as Emily said, and if you want to read anything within the community plan, that's what Emily quoted right there. So that's been our position right from the get-go.
Okay, our last question. Let's see here. How can you support a municipality in the approval of more centers being opened?
Isn't that a tough one, for sure? I know I work in a community that has 3 municipalities within 10 miles that you have to work with, so I completely understand that. Within the budget, and Minister Chen mentioned it tonight, they are offering, and I don't have details, and I'm interested, I'm curious to know, they're offering grants for communities to make plans for childcare. So I'm wondering if that would be a way to engage with municipalities. I think many municipalities have signed on to endorse the $10 a day plan, and that whole process that many of you were involved in with great gratitude to have your local municipality, I think that's taught them a lesson. Not just taught them a lesson, maybe informed them about what our sector is all about. So as the budget moves forward and as the government's plan for a universal system moves forward, I think more and more municipalities are going to be called upon to be partners with us. And so, anytime you have that opportunity to have those discussions, I think it's going to be an information sharing lesson for them to learn what we're all about and why we're critical to communities. So, talk to people one-on-one if you have the capacity to make a presentation at your municipal council. All those great things are going to help municipalities understand that we're part of that. And I'm very, very interested to see what they mean by community grants to do needs assessments with municipalities.
So
Emily, do you have?
just to add to that, so government has also been very forthcoming, saying that they have already started developing relationships within municipalities to start to spearhead some of these ideas. So I know in a lot of communities, municipalities are very interested in how they can be supportive of building the capacity as many have indicated. they want to bring new young families into the community, and lots of times they have to actually say no because, you know, they don't have the necessary resources such as childcare programs available for new people moving in. So I know that government's already been engaging at a municipal level, so we could ask for more details around that engagement for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially when we talk about the creation of new spaces, that takes a whole bunch of pieces have to be in place for that to happen. So, yeah, sort of more of a global perspective. So I know Sean did say that was going to be our last question, even though we know there's many more. And Sean is diligently recording those. And thank you so very much for them, because I know we couldn't get to all of them, but we will try to get to all of them, get them to the minister, and we'll be getting in contact with you that have been on this call tonight. Also with any more information that comes out. I think it's been really great, and it would have been so lovely. I've been on smaller conference calls to be able to hear from everybody. Just logistically wise, that wasn't able to happen. But I was saying to Emily, I just picture people like I'm doing, sitting in my living room around their computer, listening and typing questions, and it's just a different way of engaging. So thank you for everybody for taking time out of your day to be part of this. We hope it's been helpful. I like the questions. I'm interested in some of them, and some of this I'm interested in the answers. So I'll be curious to see where we go from here. Before I end the call, I just wanted to publicly, to all 100 and somewhat of you, to just say that I think we really need to recognize our provincial office, and in particular the leadership of Emily Golick. She is our executive director. We have a teeny tiny office that could fit inside my living room, I kid you not, and 3 office staff that work diligently with all this stuff that's coming down daily. Every moment we're getting new emails about what about this, what about this, and the leadership they have shown in order for this to move forward for the benefit of all of us is absolutely incredible. So I want to take the time, and I wish we could all applaud online. If there was a little clappy thing, I think we could all do that. But Emily and Sean and Christine and Heather, thank you so very, very much for engaging with us tonight and being a leader in our community, our ECE community. And thank you to all of you for being leaders in your community as well.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming on. And just for ending here, just to let you know that Sean will be sending out, you'll look in your inbox, and if you don't receive email by noon tomorrow, you should have it in your inbox. Check your junk mail, but everybody that's on the webinar that's registered will be sending out some additional information around the 10-a-day plan, the information from the government, the links to what they talked about today, as well as these survey questions. So if you still need more clarification, or if you didn't get your question answered today, ensure that you get it into the survey question so that we can compile them and respond in the best way that we can, or at least get these questions and comments to government.
Thank you, Emily. And thank you, everybody. Standing strong together. Yes, we are. And look what we can accomplish. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night.